We've been
Yep.
so brainwashed by the academic system to work for fake money. But I think they're intentionally destroying America. Don't they know what they're doing? Don't they know what they're doing? And I think they do, no better than we do. Someday you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. When they take the dollar off the gold standard, then we could go into debt. And that was done by the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a Marxist organization, centralized banking. We all know that, but we don't say anything. You know, this guy, Janet Yellen and Powell, and then they give Bernanke the Nobel Prize. You gotta be kidding me. You see that balloon hanging in the background there? I call it the Bernanke balloon. And hanging underneath of it, the gondola, is us. And that frickin' balloon, he blew it up so big, and they give him a Nobel Prize, and he's a PhD. You know what I'm talking about? And then now we're in serious trouble as they keep trying to raise interest rates to stop inflation. It crashes the stock market. And the old guys with the 401k came into existence in 1974, the same year that I think Ford allowed us to own gold. And the other book I wrote was called Who Stole My Pension? So the boomers, we had it the easiest of any generation. When we graduated from school, we bought a house. You know, the first house I bought was $18,000. Today it's probably $350,000. And then you put money in the stock market, it went up and all this. But that balloon is coming down, and that's the crash course. Communism, as you know, is the centralized control of the government. So the Fed is really fascist because it's a private entity controlling a public entity. And that's what this book here, Creature from Jekyll Island, writes about here, is the Federal Reserve Bank is not federal, it's not a reserve, it's not a bank. It's a cartel. It's Marxist. I mean, it's fascist. So communism is centralized control, and the controller, you know, that's what the fourth turning is about, is that we don't trust our institutions anymore. The FBI, the CIA. How about pharmaceuticals? I mean, this whole thing with COVID is the most dangerous subject I've ever seen, because my friends who are doctors are afraid of speaking out. And then the biggest thing that Marx talked about was, number one, was labor unions, workers of the world unite. So my poor dad was head of the teachers union, the most powerful union in America, and they're Marxists. They're good people, don't get me wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you might be Christian, you might be Jewish, you might be Muslim. So communism is more of a economic philosophy. That's all the way I see it. So if you can see it from that way, they're still good people. My father's a very good man, but he believed in taxing the rich. He believed in labor unions. Everything I don't believe in. We can still be father and son, but it was Marx who said, you know, labor, you know, workers of the world unite. So it was overthrow capitalists. And that's what I was fighting in Vietnam. I have 2 tours there. And I read Communist Manifesto. Where's that book? I read this book in 1965, and 1966 was my first tour in Vietnam, and I could see it. But you can't see it unless you read it. And then the other thing that happened for me was the second tour. I was now a Marine pilot, and we're fighting for the North Vietnamese. We're running south across the DMZ, and we got stuck in a battle called Quang Tri. There was Hue Citadel in the Quang Tri, and we got pounded at Quang Tri. We got our butts kicked. And I go on the CBS Evening News, and there's, I think it was Walter Cronkite, and what he reported happened didn't happen. And that's when Trump says are fake news, because what they're reporting didn't happen. And then they had our atrocities. You know, there was atrocities on both sides, unfortunately. So there was My Lai. Yeah, that's war. You know. So anyway, I grew up in Vietnam. But after I read this book here, the Communist Manifesto, it drove me. And then this book here, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and I have to tell people what I know about what capitalism really is. And capitalism is free enterprise, free markets, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to bear arms. All that's being taken away. It's being stolen. And it starts as exactly as he said, Marx said. The first thing has to happen is you have to take over the academic system. So again, I'll give the history. It's 1848, 1930. The Frankfurt School sent teachers to Columbia University. And today, Columbia University is one of the most Marxist schools going, but it sends teachers all over the world. And we wonder why we have problems. So in 1972, 73, when I landed back in Norton Air Force Base in California, that's how Capitalist Manifesto starts. The pilot comes on board and says, ladies and gentlemen, there was no women. He says, America has changed. We didn't know what he was talking about. And we get off the plane and we get hit by eggs and spit on by all the hippies. So it was the Woodstock generation, exactly as he predicted in this book here, coming out of Columbia University, peace, love, and hippies. Our nation was split. They're crushing us. So when Biden took us off the Keystone XL pipeline in 2020, I knew what he was doing. He's a communist. He's working for Klaus Schwab and those guys and the Greenies and the guys that were spitting on us. I wouldn't be surprised if Biden was one of those hippies that was spitting on us. I asked myself that question all along. I mean, do you realize when second act that Biden did, he pulled us out of Afghanistan? How many billions of dollars did we lose? But the moment he did that, Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now it's Saudi Arabia. So when they take oil from us, and that's what they're doing, the coming economic collapse is by destroying our oil supplies. We destroy our economy because civilization runs on energy. Hitler only did 18 million. These guys, they're sick individuals. So Mao was 100 million and Stalin was 60 million. They're sick individuals, and it's coming. That's why I asked Brett, so what are these people thinking? And FYI, I could give, the Capitalist Manifesto behind me is my cash flow board game. And that's because I learned about money playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax deferred exchange, Red Hotel. So exactly as Maria Montessori said, Montessori school systems, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So back 25 years ago, Kim and I created the cash flow board game. And now it spreads across the world because it can go where we'll never go. So I hear that people are playing the cash flow board game in firehouses and this and all that. So that's what the Capitalist Manifesto is. I fight back with a board game called Cash Flow, and we teach people how capitalists think. Because this is your greatest asset, left ear, right ear, but it's also your greatest liability. So the way to counter, the communism is via education, financial education. That's why you and I join forces, because we fight back with education. And that's what Brett Weinstein's doing. And we've got to fight back against the fascists and Marxists and Stalinists and communists who teach our school system.